Okay, so so this is where content lead and the brand context and the memory thing really will really be beneficial in a custom piece of software versus doing it in ChatGPT. Okay, say you're a marketing professional and you have 10 clients and they all have different brands, they all have different brand voices and way that they want to write posts and ways that they want to prompt imagery that they want to have and things like this. Managing all of that, right, in ChatGPT, I think it's unrealistic. It's totally unrealistic. But and this is exactly what we've done, is that if you have a UI that enables someone to set that all up across different brands and different things, and then with one click they can get that context, boom, and then they get their posts and their imagery and their articles and their emails and every piece of content with that specific context to it, that's actually a valuable product. That is a valuable product. And that is just one example which is applicable to so many different things. For example, what if you're building drugs, right? You're building drugs and you have like 100 different drugs with all these different profiles that you want to be able to store into memory. You're not going to be doing that in ChatGPT 8. Like you're going to be do that in some custom piece of software that has AI embedded all throughout it that can immediately go and pick up that specific context for this specific test you want to do or something like that. So that's the custom software opportunity as well. Is layering context at speed into every interaction that you have with AI without having to fiddle around with all these complex things inside of these AI clients. That's what I think anyway. That's what I think right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's evolving. I mean, it's like again, a month ago, the way I was doing this was totally different and much less sophisticated. And I'm
Yeah.
sure a month from now, I'm going to be looking at, what I'm doing now, like, cavemen banging on rocks, and that it's just this continual evolution. And the thing that really, to me, is kind of accelerating it is the ability of you to go to AI and say, okay, tell me how to do this better.
Mm,
Tell me how I can manage you better.
yeah.
And then taking that information and it's almost like when you have a great interaction with your team and you can say, okay, give me honest feedback about how I'm doing as a manager. And
Mm,
what would be more valuable in terms of what I could provide to you to make you better at your job. And by having this kind of two-way conversation, you get better and you get better results out of the AI. I mean, and that has really become kind of, to me, kind of a flywheel thing. I mean,
mhm.
if share, I mean, just a good example of this. If I've got,
Are
uh,
you going to share your screen?
yeah, I don't have share capability, but if you could turn that on, I'll just show
Yeah.
you something really quick that's kind of a knockout on this. So let me just go and start up Claude Code, and I'll just show you something pretty neat.
You do have a lot of tabs open.
Yeah, I've too
Your
much
computer
of
is screaming. It's screaming right now.
this is why I was on the phone for 20 minutes looking at a new arachnid.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Um, so let's fire up Claude. Okay, so now I can say, create a document of your 10 best tips on the use of the knowledge graph memory MCP.
How long have you actually, were you using Claude Code 2 weeks ago when I told you about it?
No,
So this is like a recent fortnight thing.
just like a week. Yeah.
Yeah, right, right. Yeah. Isn't it? It's mind blowing, hey, when you
It,
first
it,
use it.
it, it's incredible. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is something that what I probably would have done is just started this, 20 minutes ago, and we just would have just chatted. I just would have, checked on it. But
Yeah.
um, and we can do that. But it's neat because you can just send it off as you know, and kind of have it prep this stuff, and then you get it back, and it's like, okay, here's 10 things I didn't know about, managing memory with Claude Code. And yeah, I mean, I love the to-do list. The other thing that I
Yeah.
found out about this is, have you found the planning mode?
Well, I don't do like I don't ask for planning mode, but like if you ask for sub agents within a query, it will go and do like the biggest plan. It will go and do plan on a plan. It's crazy. Like I've had it work away for 10 minutes one time, fixing, I don't know, 30 files all in one go. Like crazy. Crazy the amount it can do. And I'm sure that's just the start of like what it will ultimately become. The ability to work over 100 files if you really need it to. And it might work for 2 hours or something.
Yeah,
I'm not seeing any reason why it can't do that. The only thing holding these things back is compute. Like, it is the only thing. Like, if they build the data centers, people use AI that much. I think yeah, it's just crazy to think. I just think there's an unlimited need for compute. Like, I think that as an individual, I think how much more compute I would use if I had access to it from just like a coding perspective, and I could sort of set it off a bit more autonomously. I would just and I think this will happen. I think everyone will just set these things off. It will go and build software for them, and in a day or two, you'll have to come back and orchestrate. Like just if you just think about how much more we can orchestrate today than we could 3 to 6 months ago. Like that orchestration term is just going to get grow, isn't it?
yeah, yeah. And it's like, as you say, it's like the um the ability to, kind of manage multiple of these agents at once, and it's something I'm not yet good at, that basically, two seems like a handful to me, but I know you've got, four spinning up at once. Let me just find where this file is. Oh, here you go.
Is It's interesting that you turn them into files. That's a good idea. Usually,
Yeah, I
I'm
basically
just
turn
read I'm just
everything.
reading recommendations inside of okay, cool.
So I turn everything into in the markdown.
Oh yeah.
And then that markdown is both a great way to prompt your AI, and it's also
Mm.
the perfect format for Obsidian. So, here's 10 ways, to use that memory within Claude Code and MCP that, I'm sure as I go through this, there's a whole bunch of this I didn't know.
Yeah.
Um, and so kind of that flywheel, thing I talked about, where, now when we get off this call, I'm going to read through this and, immediately get better at managing my context.
Yeah. One of the things that the AI companies do, by the way, is they actually compress your context as well. So as you're going like down in the chat, because I learned this because I actually tried to I don't know, I went down a rabbit hole one day and I tried to sort of build a very simple agent myself. Because I think this is going to be a thing. Like not only can you build software, but you'll be able to build your own like agentic agents, right? Um, and your own agentic software. I mean, you already can. But what I found was that what you can do in the database layer is that you can compress context as you go down a chat. You can compress it, and then obviously it doesn't take in every single word. Then it takes summaries of like your historic chat, and then it uses that as context for you to continue the chat. I think ChatGPT have been doing this for ages, by the way, but I just learned that there is a technique that you can kind of do it yourself.
Yeah, yeah. And there's actually if I can find it, there's Rue has a whole kind of prompt compression, context compression. Here you go, enhanced prompt, and then there's a prompt compression. Oh, here we go, context. Um, yeah, automatically trigger intelligent context condensing.
Yeah.
And you can specify that over specific profiles or global profiles. And what it'll do, it'll show you when you start a new task. Um, so if we say, okay, oh, so this is what I was talking about in terms of the auto approve. So you can set your auto approves here. And then
This is
if
a
we
nice
say,
UI.
okay, like you know, find data sets on GDP. And what it'll do here is it'll show you, okay, I've got probably Gemini running with a 1 million context window, and then it'll also show you kind of what your context compression is, and then what tools it's asking to run. And it's just, the level of sophistication, even though the interface doesn't look like much, in terms of the granularity of what you can do, has just gotten exponentially better in the past month.
Hmm. Look how big that and the 700,000 downloads of Rue code.
Yeah,
Five
yeah, and
star, five-star rating for but close to 300 people. Like just shows
and
you
that
like
that that,
they're just
that
they're not even a big player in these
right.
tools.
I mean, that's what I find so interesting going in the open router ratings, which is
Yeah, yeah.
it'll show you not only the models that people are using, it'll show you the tools people are using. And so a lot of times I find really cool stuff just by looking at what other people are, burning a lot of tokens on. Um,
You know what's so interesting is that OpenAI doesn't even feature in the top 10.
yes, I want to talk to you about that because
Isn't that super interesting? I'm looking
I
at it
get
right now. I'm looking at it right now. Hold on. Why don't I share? I'll share.
I am really bearish these days on OpenAI. I do not see good things for them. That I mean, you can never tell, and maybe GPT-5 is a blockbuster, but if you look at what people are using and the fact that what was the last thing OpenAI produced that you think was really innovative?
Oh, I think they're going to be massive. I think I agree, but it goes back to my earlier point. Like the market is that big. It is that big that I don't know. I think that they'll be they own consumer. They own consumer. They might not own dev, but they own consumer. I mean, a billion people have accounts.
Yeah,
So
but there's also not a lot. There's not a lot keeping you there.
yes, yep. Look, I mean, I use it every day, but I use a lot of other things too. So I don't know, like if every human's going to live in these AI clients for the next couple of decades, like there is they are in such a lead at the moment that and the market is that big, like that there can be multiple winners. Um, I think they're going to be still be massive. They'll still be massive. But yeah, I mean, it is amazing that their models are just getting crushed like on here. I mean,
Yeah,
it does not even feature in the top 10. That's
in the
that's
top
amazing.
10.
Yeah.
I mean, like a few months ago, that would have been unimaginable.
Yeah, it is true. It is
And I,
very,
I,
very
I
true.
don't think open router developers are, a representative sample of the world, but I still think it's pretty interesting because that is the group certainly that's burning the most tokens per person.
Yeah, yeah. So it's interesting. So yeah, so Claude Sonnet 4. By the way, Opus 4 is actually better than Sonnet from a coding perspective. I have found in Claude code.
But even with the premium membership, it sets you off pretty early.
I know. It's so annoying. So, and
Yeah.
I'm sure when I first started using it, it was lasting longer too. This is another thing that I think Like they don't have enough compute. They cannot fulfill the requirements that everyone has, which is
Right.
just shows you that these data center investments are totally just the beginning, right? Just the beginning for sure. Um,
So I typically only get like less than half a dozen Opus requests before it switches me over to Sonnet.
yeah, it's annoying. Sonnet is inferior by a stretch, I think. I find like Opus like crazy, like wow, like I usually go, wow, it got that, like that's kind of my reaction. But it's interesting. Google are up here very high as well because they're so cheap. Like that's the reason. Like
Mhm.
if you look at these next one, right? Google, DeepSeek, they're there because they're cheap. They're just like grunt work models. They're plugged into a lot of apps and stuff. Like, most websites you go to or apps you use now, they have an AI companion part to them. Like everyone's trying to build like a co-pilot. I think they're plugging in a lot of cases these models because they're even cheaper than the OpenAI ones in a lot of cases.
Well, have you
Uh,
played around with like Quinn and Kimmy K2? I mean, those are
no,
good models and they are dirt cheap.
they do it cheap as well. OpenRouter is so fascinating, is it? Like this is I'm so glad you got me onto this. Um, let's have a look. Let's have a look. If we go to
You go to Kimmy K2.
actually,
Come
we
on.
need to sort by. Sorry, actually, we
Oh,
can
there we go. Yeah.
go communicate to. Look, I haven't used it. Wow. So this came. This is very new, and it's already doing 41 billion tokens this week.
Yeah. It's good. It's good and it's cheap. And the thing is, it's optimized. It's optimized
Yeah.
for tool calling.
Wow, this is so fascinating. So it's 0.08 cents for a million tokens. Like a million tokens is a lot in the coding world, right? Like when you use Claude Code, like most queries, it's doing like, I don't know, a few thousands like tokens. Um, okay, let's compare this to, okay, so Grok 4 is 3. So wow, it's so cheap. Okay, Opus is $15. Holy crap. So
Yeah.
it's
So this is
like
like,
20 times the cost of community. Wow. I'd never even heard of this thing. I'd never even heard of Community. Never heard of it. That's crazy. It's crazy
yeah.
that it's number two. What these two in terms of programming are the top two by use
Yeah.
of the last week. These two
It's because
Chinese ones.
they kick ass and they're dirt cheap.
Wow. That is crazy. It's crazy.
And it's really, to me, it's really interesting how the optimization of the Chinese models is just off the charts. I mean,
Mm,
these models are fast, they're cheap, and
yeah.
it's like they're just not dependent on, the same level of compute. And apparently I just read this morning an article about a new um, kind of mixture of experts um, paradigm they've come up with that runs things like another order of magnitude faster. And in some respects, I'm actually more curious about DeepSeek R2 than I am about GPT-5 because I think R2 is going to be incredibly fast and incredibly cheap for a high level of smarts. And that's really what I think is as people start, particularly people like us who are burning huge amounts of tokens in coding, it's like that's what you're looking for is smart, fast, and cheap.
Our apps that I built, like they're built with OpenRouter, right? So now that now that I've discovered this, I'm about to add it as an option
Yeah,
to put
give it a
into the thing,
try. Give it a
and
try.
then boom,
It's
I'll be able to,
impressive.
I can test it just like that. Like this is such an unreal environment to be working in, isn't it? Like better model comes along, change one line of code, boom, start using a better
Boom.
model. That's we're actually in content lead, we're actually using Claude as our base model because we think it's the best writer in general, the best draft writer. Um,
Mhm.
but now this is 20 times cheaper. I mean, I obviously have to test it. But wow, that's crazy. That's crazy. So OpenAI, just getting back to OpenAI. I believe that they are going to be, I mean, they have a lot of money, right? Like a lot. They're already valued at 300 billion. They got like their last raise, they were able to secure $50 billion, I think. $50 billion. There is a lot you can do with $50 billion. Like they for them to not win in some way, maybe they not might not be the most popular model, but in some way would be, I think, very like immensely surprising, you know? They're gonna we should be cheering them on as well, by the way. Like, they're gonna try and disrupt Google. I heard they're coming out with their own browser shortly. They're gonna try and disrupt like or this the social media ecosystem is completely warped at the moment. So they might have a social media. I was also thinking, like, I kind of have a little bit more brand affinity to OpenAI right now than I even do Microsoft. Like, if they came out with an email client and a chat client, like I could easily and happily move. I'm not like there isn't many Microsoft products that I'm using other than email and Teams right now, like on a regular basis. Um, Sometimes Power BI, but definitely not as much as I used to. So, you know, yeah, I think there's so much room. There's so much. I mean, they're building like an agent and a personal agent for yourself. Like they're the ones leading the way on agents. Their new release called Agents. I haven't used it, but they'll do fine. They'll be fine, Brian. I think they'll be fine. They'll turn that $50 billion into $1 trillion, and they'll be absolutely fine.
It'll be interesting. It's like, I still feel like there's so much left to play out in this story,
Oh,
and
oh yeah.
I think your point about that this market is big enough now that it's not a winner take all, and that it's going to segment into, kind of specialized niches. And I feel like, Anthropic is really winning with the developer community, but OpenAI may be the consumer community. Google might be the business community. It's like it's hard to tell, and it seems like one of the things that makes it so interesting is it changes constantly. I mean, this has been
Mm.
very eye-opening in the sense of the first time since we started this that we've really gone a month without having this particular conversation, and how much changed is incredible. I feel like my whole
Oh,
stack
oh,
changed. Um,
totally.
the way I do analysis changed. The way I'm delegating to models changed. The models I'm using changed. Just in a month.
Tech is changing. Tech always change fast, and I think it's changing faster than ever.